But the most common nickname she has is Geronimo.
Everybody ready? Everybody ready? Yeah, Mike, you guys ready? You ready? Welcome everybody to the Smithfield Planning Board meeting for September 19th, 2024. Initially, in terms of emergency evacuation and health notification, in case of emergency, there are two main exits out of the chambers. First is to the left side of the stage, up the stairs, through the doorway, and down the stairway, out the back side of the town hall. The second is out the back of the chambers, to the exit doorway, to the stairway, out the front of the town hall. The men's facilities are through the back of the chambers, past the stairway, around the corner on the right. The ladies' facilities are through the back door of the chamber, straight up the stairs and on the left. Please do not use the elevator in times of emergency. First matter of business is to review and discuss the minutes of the August 15th, 2024 meeting. Does anybody have any proposed changes, suggestions, and/or corrections?
I do. On under Emily's Way, on the second, it starts at the bottom, that's the third page, and goes on to the fourth page. The first paragraph down below it says, Mr. Casali, zoning stated they are seeking a variance. I think the sentence just needs to be reworded. I believe they probably meant to say Mr. Casali stated they are seeking a zoning variance.
Where's that, Catherine? What page, which page, page 4 or 5?
Yeah.
You're correct. Anybody else with any comments or questions regarding the meeting minutes? Do we have the motion with the amendment?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All not in favor? The ayes have it. Regular agenda, Whipple Woods, ID 2203, master plan review.
Try one?
I'm sorry, I got the old one. Old business, Maury Hill Commons, ID 18007, public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, good evening, members of the board. Just for the record, my name's Joe Casali. I'm a registered professional engineer with offices at 300 Post Road in Warwick. With me is Mr. Ringland, who's one of the principal partners. Tonight, as you may know, is just a minor modification. This project was previously approved, albeit a much larger project. If I may, a quick PowerPoint presentation. I'd like to just show you initially the original approval and then what the applicant would like to propose tonight. Again, just where we are in the community, as you all know, 7 Farnham Pike, George Washington Highway, John Maury Road, Stillwater, and specifically Assessors Plat 43, Lot 63. It's about a 2.5 acre piece. This was the mixed-use building that was approved. It was 15 residential condos and 6 commercial units. The footplate was close to 17,000 square feet. That was a rendering of both the commercial and the residential view. What the applicant is proposing now is our 2 15,000 square foot building. Each of them have 12 flex space units. The flex space units are about 1,250 feet in square. Proposed in the front, retail, commercial. The rear is going to be flex trade space. In terms of the driveway, the revised location from where it was a little bit further east. In terms of parking, 30 are required by code, 48 are provided with all of the ADA spaces to go along with it. Dumpster location, that's a rendering of the rear of the building. And ultimately, the drainage complementary to the initial drainage, pushing everything to the west. So, as I stated, Mr. Chairman, we were here for preliminary on March 31 of 2022, and we're asking tonight for a plan modification with the understanding that evidence contingent upon our DEM permits, our DOT permits, sewer, water, soil erosion, and final plan. Mr. Ringland and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of the board members?
Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Patel, you said that the rendering was the rear elevation?
It actually could be, that could be the front or the rear. They're identical, but that looks to me like it's more of a rear view.
And that's one building, there's going to be two of these.
Correct. There's going to be two of them with cupolas on top. So you have that garage door or that glass face if it's retail. You have the little porticos with the man doors, and you have some of the siding in the front, at least halfway up. Some of the faux panels, some of the faux stone.
Was previous design, wasn't there a substantial slope between the front and the back?
There is, which under the new design, we're able to alleviate a lot of the retaining walls and really reduce the cost of the site. We still have severe retaining walls on the north of the site and on the east of the site, but nowhere near the infrastructure cost that we had for the original building.
Any other questions?
Yeah, didn't the original building have a driveway on the other side?
It did. It had a driveway all the way on that western side, and now we'll be able to put that driveway in the middle so that we can safely get around. The original design, Ms. Lynn had that building was so wide that we needed a driveway for fire access to be on the immediate right-hand
Fire
side.
marshal's okay with no driveway there?
I believe that we've gone through the TRC, but we will go through it again, but I can't see why they wouldn't be. It's a better design in terms of site distance.
Well, I'm just worried about that corner up there. If a truck is going to have to back out all that way.
I'm sorry. Yes, same with the other design. If you were to have a truck go all the way up in that northwest corner, a delivery truck or something of that nature, correct, they would have to back up the length of that building.
Any other questions of the board members? With no further questions of the board members, we'll open the matter for public comment. If anyone would like to be heard on this matter, please come forward and state your name and address.
Good evening. I'm John Emmett, number 7 John Murray Road. My property abuts right adjacent on the north side of the proposed building. My son Seth, who can't be here tonight but wishes me to explain his thoughts as well, is on the east-westerly side of the road. The only comments we have, well, first of all, I've known Scott for a bit of time. I know what his building is, his style, structures. He does a very nice job, and I can solely support it. My only concern is I have talked to Scott about this, is any bright lights at night. We have enough of them around the property that it can deter and invade the house as well. But Scott has said that that would not be the problem. Any questions that you might have of me? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gary Jacoyan. I'm also an abutter 155 George Washington Highway, and I don't have any issues with this concept that they want to put up forward.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Anyone else wish to be heard on this matter? With no one responding, the public comment is closed at 6:11. Any discussion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All not in favor? In terms of the approval, do we need to set forth the requirements?
Probably.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the modified preliminary plan as submitted, approve the changes and conditions. Also authorize the town planner to provide and prepare a written decision consistent with the board's findings, and send the final plan to be handled administratively. Is there something?
Should we mark the memorandum of the town planner as Exhibit A?
Yes, that's good.
Do we have a second of the motion,
Second.
of the amended motion? All in favor? Aye. All not in favor? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next matter is Emily's Way, 260 Old County Road, ID 2405, public hearing, minor subdivision preliminary plan review.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Timothy Kane, and I'm an attorney licensed to practice law with an office at 627 Putnam Pike in Greenville. And I am representing the applicant/owner KLRS Realty LLC. With respect to the three-lot subdivision before you tonight, that my client has called Amelia's Way. I believe you're all familiar with the plan. It was presented to you at your August hearing, and there was a site visit a few weeks ago that was attended by several board members and abutters, and I know several of you are familiar with the property because you live in Smithfield and you've probably driven by it a million times. I'm going to remind you that this would be a quote-unquote private development. The proposed road would be a private road not requiring any maintenance by the town. And the applicant is proposing a roadway of 20 feet in width with 18-inch berms. And so we're requesting waivers from the town requirement of a 50-foot right-of-way and a 30-foot paved road. And I would respectfully suggest that a three-lot subdivision should not require a 30-foot paved road. And the less paving and land disturbance will be better for the environment and the drainage issues that exist in that area. We're also requesting relief on proposed Lot 1. Because there is no water and sewer there, the minimum lot size is 65,000 square feet, and we're requesting, I believe, 40,608 square feet. And the other lots greatly exceed the R65 requirement, proposed lots 2 and 3. I believe you have a positive recommendation to approve from the planning department. And when you apply the test for zoning relief, I would concur with the planning department that when you look at proposed lot 1 and the lots in the surrounding area, it certainly would be consistent with the lots in the neighborhood. We do have Mr. Casali here. He is the professional engineer of record for this project. He can answer any questions that you have or concerns that may have come up with regard to the site meeting. He can walk you through the plan again. I don't know if that's necessary, but if you want him to do that, I'm sure he can do that. And after that's done, and perhaps when we hear from the abutters or before we hear from the abutters, I would like to ask Mr. Casali some questions to make a record. So if you have any questions for Mr. Casali, he's here. If you'd like for him to walk you through the plan again, I'm sure he's happy to do that.
Including Mr. Casali? You have the court reporter swear Mr. Casali in?
I do. Joe Casali, C-A-S-A-L-I, registered professional engineer. Office is at 300 Post Road in Warwick. Chairman, thank you. I didn't think it was necessary to run through the whole project again, unless you thought so. I just wanted to quickly go over, there are 4 waivers the applicant is requesting and 1 variance. The waivers are for the alternate cul-de-sac, the paved right-of-way to be reduced from 30 to 20 feet, the actual platted right-of-way to be reduced from 50 to 30 feet, and a waiver for the state permits, being this is preliminary, we still need permits from DEM and DOT. And the 1 variance is the Lot 1 area is less than the 65,000 square feet. It's 40,608 square feet, requiring a dimensional relief of 24,392 square feet. I can run through that quickly on the PowerPoint if necessary.
Any questions of Mr. Casali or the board members?
If I may, Mr. Chair. Mr. Casali, has anything changed from last time we were here last month to this current plan?
No, the change, that plan that you're looking at tonight is the same one you looked at about a month ago.
Okay. Because I know last time we were here, we discussed certain issues, such as drainage and the grade.
Correct.
So nothing's been changed to that regard?
The grade is, that existing grade is what it is. I'm not sure we're able to grade that road at any less of a slope than it is now as proposed, and same with the drainage. That drainage, it's my professional opinion that drainage works. I don't know how else I would change that drainage.
Is the applicant still planning on fixing the culvert that's damaged?
Yes, we have submitted correspondence to DOT, but the only way that's actually going to happen is when we actually submit a physical alteration permit and we get permission from DOT to work within their right-of-way and to either unblock or fix that culvert. So even though we would like to do that and do that at our own expense, we still need permission from DOT to work in their right-of-way. And that won't come, it can be contingent upon, but it won't come until we actually file with DOT and get their permission back.
Mr. Chairman, just one question. Under the GRC comments, the captain, fire marshal, and the fire department said about that grade, the uphill grade / slope is at 9.8, 9.9%. 10% is the max, makes it difficult for the trucks. I've never driven one of those things, but is there, I guess, from the comment, I'm getting the feeling that there is concern about this. How's your feeling about it?
Yeah, so in every community that I know of, 8% is the max of a roadway. Certain communities like West Warwick will let you go to 9%. And there are communities that also, with fire department permission, 10% is navigable with a fire truck. And I think that's why he's approving that. There are other 10% grades in town. Mathematically, 1 in 10. We were all out to that site. You saw what I saw that day. In terms of that's not a variance, that's not a waiver. It meets the threshold that's allowable within the subdivision regulations.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, my next question would be to the town planner, but I can
Yeah, I
wait.
have a question as well for the town planner. You first, Michael.
I think you're thinking. Go right ahead.
Mike, Mr. Phillips, in some of the paperwork I saw, there was a reference to a recommendation that a civil engineering peer review be conducted on project design.
Yes. Yeah. That's something that we would ask for if there's questions about drainage. We've had concerns raised about drainage in the area, so having the drainage report peer review is something.
Okay. Mr. Kane or Mr. Casali, is there any objection to that?
Not at all, very standard. We welcome the review.
Okay. Michael? Was that was the same question? Any other questions of the board members? John?
When we were at the site, Joe, you said you talked about putting the trees in the back. Is that still, still in the plan?
Yeah, absolutely. If that's what the board wants, if we think that'll mitigate some of the sound, to put some of those, I think, Charlie, we specifically talked about, evergreens, pine trees, non-deciduous trees that'll be there. I think that's a reasonable request, and the applicant would adhere to that.
Yeah, because it seems to me that people around there are concerned about that. And so if we could, that'd be one thing that would help them, to help us to, help you. And like I said, I'm still concerned about that grade too. How are we going to guarantee that that's going to be all right? Is there any way we can make sure that the fire department doesn't have a problem later on and we got to go out and fix that?
Well, I think that's why the fire department has the metrics of the 10%, to stay under it, and that's why we design under it, to be within those metrics. We would never be here with anything. We would never ask for health safety. There are no variances and waivers for health safety. Dimensional relief, frontage, you're too close to a wetland, that's a much different area than, something for health safety and welfare for fire.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Catherine?
What about blasting? There's a lot of ledge up in that area.
Yeah, so we had talked about that the last time. Again, blasting is something that's under the state fire marshal. If he feels the need that he has to blast and he has to go with the state fire marshal, they will file a permit with the clerk. He will do the best that they can and notify the town. There's just no vehicle, as you know, Catherine, for us to notify people other than the old.
Well, my concern is that affects drainage. So once you start blasting, it can change the water flow. And I would like to see a pre-blast survey done for the surrounding homes.
Absolutely, that would be standard, that would be protection for everybody. I don't know of a blaster that wouldn't implement a pre-blast survey. We would absolutely agree to that, absolutely agree to that. That's good practice for everybody. So the drainage, the drainage will be reviewed now from the peer reviewer. It'll be reviewed by DEM's engineers because we need their permit. It'll be reviewed by DOT's engineers. So we'll have, along with our engineers, there'll be enough of us in there.
So you're okay with the bond for blasting?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Standard.
Any other?
Just for the board, I have a lot of safety concerns about this, not only for the people that would potentially be living up there, but, okay. Not only for the people that would potentially be living up there, but we've heard from neighbors on that property and, below. And, we all live in town, we see how the winters are in that area. So not only the fire truck going up a almost maximum grade on a perfect day, maybe in an ice and rain, in snow, probably not. And then the overflow from the blasting, from the rain, from the snow melt going into those people's homes across the street is really, really concerning to me from a health standpoint and a safety standpoint, to have people's homes flooding. So I'm having a really hard time supporting this project for those reasons.
Any further comments to either Mr. Kane or Mr. Casali of the board before we open it up for public comment?
I just have, because you're now sitting as a zoning board, I guess, or granting zoning relief, I have some legal questions, I guess, that I would normally run a client through on a zoning case, 4 or 5 questions that pertain to the test. So I'd like to present those to Mr. Casali. So, Mr. Casali, you are a professional. I'm sorry.
So is the questions to Mr. Casali or to the client?
They're to Mr. Casali, as the expert witness on this case.
Okay.
So, Mr. Casali, you are a professional engineer licensed in the state of Rhode Island, is that correct?
Yeah.
Sir, we can't hear it.
you're obviously familiar with the subject property. You've walked it, and you're the engineer of record, is that correct?
Yes, I have.
And does the subject property contain or have unique characteristics?
Oh, sure. The topography on the land is something that's unique in character, as is the amount of wetlands and where they are, how they bifurcate the property.
And also the frontage, I would say.
The frontage is unique in that it was, there are other lots that are cut out in front of that. This is not an original piece of property.
Is the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief due to the unique characteristics of the property and not the general characteristics of the surrounding area?
Right, all of the 4 waivers and the 1 variance have to do with the unique characteristics of the property, not of the land surrounding it. Yes, that is correct.
And are you aware of any action taken by the applicant that would create the hardship?
No, part of the process we pulled, the applicant has owned the properties, I believe, since, as it is in this state. This is how he bought the property. He's done nothing to create any of his own hardships.
And in your opinion as a professional engineer, can lot number 1 propose that 40,600 square feet adequately accommodate a well and septic system?
Yes, and that'll be proven through the DEM process.
And are you familiar with the Smithfield zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan?
I am.
And do you have an opinion as to whether granting the variances would create conditions that would be inimical to the public health and safety as engineered?
No, this project proposed is for single-family homes in a district zone for single-family homes. Lots are allowed in this zone to be as small as 40,000 square feet, which is what is proposed.
And in your opinion, would the granting of the variance for lot size, proposed lot 1, alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent of the zoning ordinance or comprehensive plan?
No, it'll be one more house in a neighborhood of single-family, predominantly single-family homes.
And so my last question is, in your opinion, is the relief sought minimal to a reasonable enjoyment of the permitted single-family use for which the property is owned?
Yeah, for a size lot as such, he's proposing 3 lots, which I think is more than reasonable.
And it would be 3 lots on 6.5 acres?
Correct.
And proposed lots 2 and 3 greatly exceed the 65,000 square foot requirement?
Yes, they do.
I don't have any further questions.
Questions of the board based upon the testimony that was just presented?
If I may, again. Mr. Casali or Mr. King, could either of you expand on the uniqueness of Lot 1 specifically? That you
Yeah, so Lot 1, I mean, we've talked about the topography and how that you will need to grade that site in such a way, that's unique in character in terms, in my opinion, for zoning. That's not something that you'd see every day. The other unique characteristic is, as Attorney Kane stated, and I show it up there, when you see the frontage of the lot, the large frontage to the north, you can't enter the lot. So you only can enter the lot through that small piece to the south. And that predominantly is going to create, the need for either the reduction in the paved right-of-way or the platted right-of-way. And then in turn, we'll put that Lot 1 in that southernmost corner, which is why we're asking for relief on lot size. So I do think that because of the way this lot is cut out, it's not a square, flat lot, and it does have wetlands that bifurcate it from the federal highway line. It's got a lot of challenges. It's very, very unique in nature in that way.
I think I'm having a hard time just because it's not buildable, because doesn't mean it's unique, is I think where I'm not able to cross over with you, because it might just not be a buildable lot for the reasons that you're talking about. Like, it doesn't make sense to build on it because the topography, it's ledge. right? That's what you mean by topography?
No.
What do you mean by topography?
Topography meaning that
what portion, what part?
the grade from the westernmost property line, when you're up at 295, to the easternmost property line on Old County Road, that's a good change in grade when we walked up there. You don't often see that amount change in grade that connects to a local road like Old County. Nothing to do with why it has high topography. I understand there's insinuations that there's ledge, there may be ledge, there may not be ledge. What we saw was a lot of fieldstone walls out there indicating that there may be a lot of fieldstones in those first couple of feet. So from a zoning standpoint, yes, I think that's very unique. It's unique in shape. We could never find another lot in the town of Smithfield that looks just like that. And that shape makes it unique in character.
I would argue that every property is unique to a certain extent, right?
Well, that's what I mean, like,
But this property has, not every piece of property has a stream going through it. The lots on the other side of the road are relatively flat, so they have unique characteristics, nothing to the extent of this, all right? And yet, it has to be engineered. Do you have it? Let's talk about drainage. What's the charge? Because I know you're concerned about drainage under Rhode Island law and DEM regulations and town regulations with regard to drainage. And do you believe this property, has properly engineered, will result in any drainage over what constantly goes across Old County Road going into a butter's neighbor's property?
I think it's the total opposite. It's going to benefit everybody involved. Right now, that drainage moves westerly and northerly to the stream, and then it comes southerly down Old County Road where that dock pavement marking is. That's where the culvert is. That dock strip that you see right here, I believe that's the culvert we all stood at. So all this water moves this way, gets to the water, comes down to the culvert, and then they're going to move down the narrow drive. There's two ways we're going to help this if we do build this. One, we're the ones spearheading the DOT fixing and unplugging of the culvert. I know others that have tried. There's been no traction. We will formally ask for, through the application process, a permit from DOT to fix that culvert, to clean that culvert, to clear that culvert. That's a major impediment to the people on Old County Road. So if this subdivision isn't built, that's still out there. The other element is the drainage. All of our drainage is going to be in this general area to intercept all of the water and to control it and to route it into the freshwater wetland as it should be, which is why we welcome the peer review, because we want someone else other than the applicant's engineer saying to the planning board, this is good, sound engineering practice and it works. We're confident it works. We do this every day for a living, respectfully. That drainage is going to convey the water away from the subject parcels and into Old County Road. So there are two benefits from this project. If this is not built, none of these existing problems will be subsided. They still remain ultimately in effect.
Joe, excuse me.
no, I just don't think that's an accurate statement, Mr. Casali, that if you don't fix the culvert, nobody will fix the culvert.
I'm not saying that, but right now there is nobody taking the lead. We're at least petitioning the DOT. I don't understand, if we're not out there fixing it, they're going to have to fix it themselves at their cost. If the town asks them to fix it, the town's not going to pay for it. They're going to expect DOT's going to pay for it themselves. We're going to go out there and pay for it. That's why we have traction. We're the ones with traction. This has been this way for how many years, and it's never been fixed. It's only come to everyone's attention because of this project.
Exactly, it's just come to everybody's attention.
But it's
So
been a
to say it's
problem
not
for
being-
years. We all anecdotally know that. It's been a problem for years. We have people that live in the area. Without this application, what else are we doing to fix this problem? I don't know of anybody who is other than us. It's not that we're the only ones that can do it, but I don't know of anyone else who is doing it. And if this project doesn't go forward, where does that leave that culvert? It's
I
still
don't-
broken, it's still filled, it's still deteriorated, and it's still gonna flood Old County Road.
I don't find it persuasive at all that you're fixing a DOT property that people, we were just notified this culvert was in this type of shape literally last month when you came to this board.
That's not true. The applicants have testified that they've notified the town and have spoken about this issue to the town for many years. We all know anecdotally this has been a problem. I live in this area. I've driven Old County Road.
That's not a reason that's not a reason to build a project that might or may not make sense for the town because a culvert will be fixed in the process.
But I certainly
All I'm
think it's
saying is-
positive. It's something that's positive. You're building 3 houses on 6.5 acre in a zone that only requires the houses to be 1.5 acres. And you're building 3 on 6.5. I think that's very reasonable, which they're entitled to by right. They own it. And now what else are they going to do for us? Well, here's something we're going to do. Here's something we're going to do for the public good. You don't see many projects come up every night that have a public good to them. We're lucky in this case that here's a problem and we can fix it. It's a win-win.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was out there with you. I'd like to see if everybody around here is concerned about it, but you're saying to me, it sounds like you're gonna ask for permission. If they deny permission, then what? What is your-
I don't know, Charlie. What if they do deny permission? Why would they deny us permission to fix a broken culvert at our own cost?
Just asking a question.
They should go out there and fix it themselves. They should just be responsive and say, we have a broken culvert, it's causing a problem, it's our infrastructure, and we should fix it. The problem is they have hundreds of these throughout the state,
Correct.
and it's just, I don't know when they'll get to this.
Do I understand correctly that irrespective of the culvert issue, how you design this plan is not going to increase the water flow irrespective of whether the culvert is fixed or isn't fixed?
That's right, because I need 3 permits, Mr. Chairman. I need a permit from the town that's not going to allow me to have any increase in runoff. I need a permit from DEM that's not going to allow me any increase in runoff to the stream. And I need a permit from DOT that's not going to allow me any increase in runoff to the state highway system.
Catherine?
Yeah, I have a question. Joe, up above there where the 2 little tributaries come out,
Yes.
I just want you to be aware that they don't come out as 2 little streams. That entire area floods across the road.
Yes, thank you. We actually, we walked that extensively with some of the abutters who are here tonight. We can tell, Catherine, that is a braided stream, as I call it. There's just multiple outlets.
You can.
Yeah,
walk
you can
outside
see
it and
all of
see
them.
it. Yeah.
There had to be a dozen or more.
So what can be done?
So that's going to get captured in an open channel, which is there today.
It overflows.
It does. That's got to be dredged, captured, and then it's got to get to that culvert. The head walls, over, and it's got to be, it's more than just unplugging it. I mean, that's a quick fix we can do. It's got to be cut and removed and replaced. And then the water will convey and go where it's supposed to go.
Charlie?
So you're saying you don't even have to touch that, you're doing a favor, so there's all these questions.
I'm not doing a favor, I'm complying with the law.
Well, okay, here's my questions or something like that. Can we see, do you have an idea or plan on how you're going to fix it so we can look at it? In other words, do you have any kind of diagram, a figure? We're going to put a 6-inch in, a 12-inch?
We're going to put what's there today, that's DOT jurisdiction, what we're going to put, but we're going to remove and replace it in kind. We don't want to put something bigger and have more water go downstream. We don't want to put anything smaller and have any more water back up. So we're going to ask them to replace it in kind. I believe it's a 12-inch RCP.
Correct. My point to something like that is if they decide the paperwork and stuff like that, can you get permission to go ahead and do it yourself before? I mean, what is
No,
that time?
no, we're within a state highway. We need their authority. We need to be bonded, insured, licensed, for us to work within the state highway. We would never think of doing it any other way.
And who figured out how much water is going to be coming down that road?
We'll do a hydrologic analysis. We'll give it to your peer reviewer. We'll give it to DEM's engineers. We'll give it to DOT's engineers. And then, we'll go back and forth until all four of us see the same eye to eye.
And you'll make a culvert on the outside of that when it comes down on that, right-hand side of that property where it was vacant in there? Where would you put that?
I think you're going to replace it very similar to what it is now. It's a couple of head walls with a stick across of it. It's very simple of what it is, I think, and that's what you'll replace it to be. Why it did what it did over 30 years, just nobody's ever maintained it. They probably forgot about it.
Okay, so you're saying you're gonna fix everything, everything's gonna be all right, and there's not gonna be any problems?
That would be part of our application at DOT. That's what we would stipulate to, for our approval tonight for the 3 lots.
All right, I got it.
It's reasonable.
Yeah, I believe you.
Any further questions before we open the matter up again for public comment? Okay, we're going to open the matter for public comment at 6:42. If anyone would like to come forward, please state your name and address, please. And we'll have the court reporter swear you in.
Good evening. It's Matthew Faig. I live. I do. His first name is Matthew, last name is Fague, F-A-G-U-E. I reside at 247 Old County Road. Built my house there in 1998, moved in the end of 99. Prior to starting, I told you I'd bring public records. I had been in contact with the state 4 years ago for the drainage issue. There's pictures here. If I can have these entered and read copies for one look at. The pictures that are in that correspondence are the same pictures that we showed on the thumb drive at the last hearing. The culvert's damaged and broken, lack of maintenance. I believe a vehicle hit it. We've had accidents on that section of roadway, icing, snow conditions, speed. So first off, I'd like to thank the planning board for coming out and walking the property the other day. I think once everybody walked it, they realized that the slope is quite steep. The 9%, 9.5 or whatever is indicated on the plan, 9.88. I would be concerned, coming from a public safety background, you're questioning the fire trucks getting up there. There's 2 issues with the safety as far as fire trucks. It might not so much be the slope, but you're going from a 50-foot road to 30 down to 20. The ladder truck that he has depicted that has to turn around and make a 3-point turn to come back out of that culvert to get back on the Old County Road, if that was to park on that road, is approximately 16 feet wide width. The outrigger is maybe all the way out. If the truck can't make it up there, it's a 100-foot aerial ladder. They can just put the ladder out and have the firemen walk up the ladder towards the houses. As far as the slope and the steepness, there is ledge up there. I ran into ledge when I built my house, which is not directly across the street, but you can almost see my picture above the .com down below. That's where my residence is. There's a whole outcropping of ledge that comes through there. Where Ralph Parry's house was, the farmhouse, the Brown house, he's on a slab over there because there's so much ledge. He had an issue with his septic back in the day when it failed, and he had a problem putting the new septic in. That whole hill, 295, they had to blast 1969 through the 70s to put 295 in. So there's plenty of ledge there. If I was a builder or property owner, I probably would have done some site work myself to find out what I would have ran into prior to coming up now and having the abutters or even the panel asking these questions. My concern, the amount of water coming down, and I asked this question when we were out there walking the property. If you live down near the water, if you're down in Bristol, Narragansett, your roof line displaces a lot of water. So they make them put retention holding tanks in the ground there. All your water's gonna go somewhere. They don't let people pave driveways down there. So whether this is a 50-foot road, 20-foot road, there's gonna be a lot of water coming down that road. When the water gets down to Old County, where is it gonna go? I'm not an engineer, I don't know how well these tanks work. I know there's a lot of drainage issues up by Bryant College right now that are causing water problems for people all around Bryant College. I'm sure if I did a lot of research, there's probably other residential neighborhoods in town that are dealing with water issues. The past 4 or 5 years has been a lot of crazy storms, a change in the storm patterns. Water is one issue, and I think everybody's addressed that. If you come down that driveway and you take a right to go to Old County Road without asking the engineer, where's the water going to go if it doesn't get contained properly, either in a holding tank? Does it get displaced into that property, the other property owner that's trying to sell that lot immediately on Old County Road? Because when that does flood and the water doesn't follow the channel all the way down to the holding pond towards Old County Road School, it floods in the field there. It's made to go down under the driveways. When I sent this correspondence out to the state, they did come out. They sent the engineers out there. The guys actually came out with suits on, and they were looking at it. And what they did was they quickly took up some of the drainage rocks that were there and put in a couple new plastic pipes under a couple driveways. The water also flows, as Ms. Lynn says, the road acts as a dam. When that water comes down to that wetland, it fills up very quick. And if it doesn't come towards the new proposed property, it goes down towards Farnham Pike. And again, somebody I know looked at the lot at the very bottom of that hill where the driveway will be, and somebody that does a lot of water work for the utilities in this area said stay far away from that lot because of the water that's there. That same company is the ones that put the riprap rock in and fixed underneath the driveways going down to Farnham Pike to alleviate some of the water issues. Many of the houses down there do have water in their basements, and I'm probably a couple of people here tonight that'll attest to that. So I wanted to stay here all night, but two major concerns: the water drainage, the elevation and pitch. 4 years ago, I started experiencing problems with my front yard. Some of it was pre-existing conditions when I built. I probably should have dug out some of the materials more than I did. But the water was coming in. Old County Road's a crown road. It also acts as a dam. That's why the water collects where it is. If the engineer says he's going to fix the culvert, then he might as well fix the culvert, and then everything that goes down to the retaining pond to make sure that's working properly, and then everything back to Farnham Pike. So if you fix the immediate area, yeah, the water's going to go somewhere quick, but where's it going to dissipate to? The lack of oversight on that culvert is one of the big water problems. I'm concerned about freezing and ice on the roads. When that culvert isn't working properly, it does flow over into my neighbor's yard next door. As far as the trees, I hear Charlie talking about planting trees. Arborvitaes are nice. Is he going to plant 3-inch arborvitaes and let them grow over 20 years, or is he going to put some more mature sized trees, maybe the 5-gallon pots, maybe 6-footers to start off with? I think without making anybody up here raise their hand, but I think a couple people, and maybe council that's in the room tonight, said, listen to that highway. As soon as we crested the hill, we started figuring out where the layout of the house was, you could hear the highway. It's a residential area, it's peaceful. At night, it's very quiet, it's very dark. We're hoping to retain some of that nature. I didn't buy my property or build where I am with my wife and raise my family there. If I wanted to live in Johnston, where ordinance and zoning is out of control, I would have lived in Johnston. So what we would ask that at least there be some type of trees planted, maybe more mature than little. And that way we're not looking up at a blank hill for years to come. Ledge was brought up, the ledge blasting, that's going to be an issue. We're very close. It's not like somebody's blasting in a quarry or a pit somewhere. This is a residential neighborhood and it's very close. When they were blasting down south of Old County Road School for that project down there, and everybody knows about that project because they haven't fixed the road yet when you drive over that. It pretty much knocked you out of your chairs when that blasting took place. So, and again, who's going to benefit from improving Lot 1? Just the builder. But at what benefit for everybody else's concerns that maybe we're going to have a site picture that we don't currently have, noise increase, and better yet, how about flooding that may or may not happen. If this design alleviates a lot of that water, that's going to be great, but it's still going to go somewhere. That Lot 1's a subpar lot. And if residentially wise, I think you guys need to be more strict before granting things as if it was versus looking at maybe something that's commercial. Again, it might benefit the builder's profit margin. We're just asking that you look at it from a reasonable standpoint as if you lived in the immediate area. 2 houses would definitely lessen the deforestation, definitely lessen the potential water issues as well. Trees absorb water, they hold roots, they hold some of that soil that's up there. We understand that people have a right to build, but we also have a right as residents to protect our own property from damage. As lifelong residents of the town, we are asking that you do the same consideration in this matter. I could probably talk all night, but I know there's other people here, so I just appreciate your time. Thank you.
Charlie?
I got a question for, I'm glad you brought that up. I wasn't thinking about the trees because they could put, so what would you be happy with, like a 6-foot or something?
I just planted up, I bought them, little 3-footers, not even, they're shorter than that. They're maybe 3 feet now, but it's going to take years to grow. I put those on the right of my property for a property line issue. But no, something that's definitely going to be a little bit taller, without breaking the bank, but something that's going to maybe last.
What size would you suggest?
Probably 6 to 8 feet to start out with.
Sounds reasonable.
They're quick growing.
Charlie, green giants
Yep.
will not be affected by the deer. There's
That's
all
what-
deer in that area.
That's what I just
The
planted.
deer won't eat the regular arborvitae's, the deer will eat.
Okay.
They're like
didn't
two,
know that. So that's two
green
things we gotta
giants.
look at.
I just bought 30 of them, had them shipped, and my wife and I spent a weekend planting them, so.
Okay. I think we can help you. I think we can help you on that. And the drainage thing, it seems there's like a lot of legal things. And how much trouble have you had with the DOT?
So when they did the road over, and Boyle and Fogarty came by and did the water line, the first word was the road was going to get repaved, things were going to be addressed, all that was going to be done. And then it was, no, that's not going to get done. They're just going to pave over where they cut the road, fix some driveways. And then their agreement, I think, when they cut the road and did all the work, state had them try to fix from De Niro Drive, just opposite at the end of the wetlands down to Farnham Pike. In Farnham Pike, when that water's flowing and nothing's doing what it's supposed to be doing, they just take a sand truck and pretty much open and just dump the sand there. I mean, everybody sees it, you drive by, but think about it, you got kids going to and from school down there, and you're going downhill, and you got people coming down Farnham Pike. It goes across Farnham Pike sometimes too, some of that water. So I'm not here to infringe on anybody's rights as a builder or a property developer, but there's a lot of questions. The water, it's a lot of water. And I've seen it, we've been there. I've put, my house, I didn't put French drains in afterwards with all the water and the issues. I cut my floor, I put some tanks in. One runs all the time when it's raining, one doesn't. The other thing is, when they came by and did the road over, because the water was coming into my driveway so fast and the road in my front lawn, we asked the state when they did the paving if they could do a Cape Cod berm, just keep the water away from the lawn. They said, no, if you want that, you can pay for it. So my neighbor and I went with the paving company. We paid them cash to put a nice berm.
Have they ever sent down an engineer to look at that?
I'm not sure if there's, when I first sent that letter out, I came home that afternoon, there was guys in shirts and ties out there looking at everything, they were measuring, and they sent a company out. It was like a landscaping company that cut, Perry had stamped cobblestone at the end of his driveway. They removed that and they put pipe under his driveway to try to get some of the water diffusing the other way. You kind of need, the whole thing needs some type of drainage system. I don't know if Rip Rap's the answer at the end of those farm fields at the road edge, but the road acts as a dam, so whatever comes down there, and even when the kids were little, sledding in that hill, they would get to the bottom, and as soon as you get there, you'd break through the ice, and it's like this deep. As soon as you come off Old County Road, it's all the road, and it goes right down. And again, I know these systems are designed for catching water and doing this, but where does it go? Does it get diffused, and we're back into the other farm field again, to be what? But as Ms. Lynn pointed out, that wetland river there that comes down, when everything is flowing, you got water coming down that, you got water coming down that's not going through the culvert, it's going across the road. My neighbor's property, that used to be Milt Corey's property, there's a stream on the left there that goes all the way down to the back that eventually goes towards Georgeville Pond. Again, the right-of-way for the property, when we had to subdivide our lot, which was substandard, but it was approved by the town at the time, when I had my real estate attorney look, I said, we're going to build a house here. He goes, you can't build it substandard. I said, what do you mean by that? You're 50 feet short. So then I had to go back to Mr. Corey and say, it's a nice piece of property you have here, but I can't do anything with it. So we had to do a quick claim deed. We had to move the line over to get 50 more feet. So we had proper frontage. This property has a cul-de-sac. It doesn't have the circle in the middle, so you have the frontage circle as part of the proper lot size. The other one, it's so substandard, I don't even know. Once people go up there and look at that, once he starts clearing and they hear the highway, I don't even know if he's going to be able to sell those houses. So,
I've got a question for Mr. Phillips about this.
Let's finish with the witness, then. Let's wait till the public hearing is, and,
I'm going to wrap up, so we got other people that need to talk.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to mark as Matthew Figg's Exhibit 1, the email dated December 29th, 2020 to DOT, customer service, with attached 3 photographs as a 4-page document. If anyone else of the public would like to be heard on this matter, please come forward. You're going to be sworn with your name and address, please.
Yes, I do. Sure. My name's Jane Testa. My last name is Testa, T-E-S-T-A.
That's who.
I live at 282 Old County Road. As the gentleman before me mentioned, I live at the bottom of the hill. I'm the last property next to the post office, and I'm here to attest the major concerns of flooding and drainage problems that we have down there. The ice does fill up in the wintertime. They do dump the sand down there. My concerns with the DOT is that they feel that what they did last year with the Boylan Fogarty project is great. And I can assure you that my basement floods now, and it's floods all the time, and they feel that they've done a really good job with the drainage system on Old County Road. My concern is if you're taking away all these trees and having a culvert that is already overflowing, and we have to take this gentleman's word for it as an engineer when the DOT is already saying that what they have there is sufficient, makes me concerned. So I just have real concerns with what's happening, what's being allowed. We're there, we've voiced our concerns to everybody that we can in regards to the water, and nothing's being fixed. So I can't even imagine taking more trees down and what that is going to result in for the property owners on Old County Road. That's all.
Thank you.
Yes, I do. My name is Mary Campbell, C-A-M-P-B-E-L-L. I live at 278 Old County Road, right next door to the woman before. I've lived there for 23 years. When they did that project on our road, they were in front of my house. I went outside and I said, well, what's going on? Because they put those pipes in with the rots. This is going to solve the problem. And I told them, that's not going to solve the problem, because the problem comes from behind my house. And it goes behind my house, and it goes in between our houses on the paper road, and that's where the water is coming from. And their project isn't going to fix that. It's going to make it worse, because there's a lot of trees back there which hold a lot of water, and I am having lots of flooding as well. Devastating. Being in my basement, wet vacuuming for an entire morning because of the rain and the drainage that they've put in that doesn't do anything. So this project is only going to make it worse. It's going to make my property worse. The front of my home has a stone wall, which is collapsing now because of the excessive water that's going through my backyard. So I invite everybody
to come for a walk through my backyard. I'll show you where the water is coming from. I have to clear a trench anytime there's leaves or anything to make sure that the water flows through there, and it's only gotten worse. This isn't going to make it better. That's all I have to say. But please, I really would love people to come to my backyard.
Thank you for your comments. And your address?
2 Denaro Drive. I'm the one that's kind of kitty corner up in there, right between Denaro. I'm on Denaro, so it's kitty corner between Old County and Denaro. I knew people were going to talk about water, so I didn't want to. I was just going to talk about the safety aspects that we don't have now. But because some issues were brought up, and I was really surprised that they didn't make any modifications since our last meeting, because just the simple facts of they have nothing, I made mention at the last meeting, they have nothing in their plans on how that road connects to Old County. Every property, just about every property, has a special under driveway type of issue to let water pass underneath and doesn't spill out on Old County. There wasn't one before. They haven't made any changes, so they may not be serious about this water issue. The other thing that we brought up last time was the water that they shed goes around that property into the wetlands. The crown of Old County Road is Denaro Drive. So anything extra that goes at Denaro Drive goes towards these poor women's homes, all right? They don't go the other way. It doesn't go to the culvert. Fixing the culvert doesn't help them. But any additional water in that wetlands will go their way. So those are two issues I didn't want to talk about, but I thought I'd bring that up now. From a safety standpoint, in my short lifetime, there's been an accident about 100 feet from where they have their street coming into Old County Road. About 100 feet, somebody drove right off the road, right into the famous culvert. Not too long ago, going the other direction, only about 100 feet from that road that they're proposing, on the other side of the street, a guy ran into a tree and almost ran into the ditch that the culvert leads from. Last summer, just this past summer, my neighbor, the one who's just off the picture towards the post office, she was just entering Old County Road and she got sideswiped. All right, she got smashed into by someone going towards the post office. This is a real safety issue. Old County is a safety issue. Compound that with the icing, which everybody knows about, that's famous. All right, that's another safety issue. Any additional water is just going to exacerbate that. Living there, I'm almost embarrassed. When I went and walked the property too, I didn't realize it was that high. And any water shedding off that is going to be flooding towards Old County Road. It's not going to be absorbed anywhere. Maybe initially, but afterwards it's going to end up down in our basements. We all have water in our basements, some more than others. But just because you have it, at the last meeting, I mentioned it to someone in the meeting, and I said, everybody pumps their basements. And they said, that's not really an argument because it's a pre-existing condition. I said, a bad safety aspect, you can't say it's pre-existing so we can make it more unsafe. And that's what this is going to do. Right? I'm serious about the safety issues, serious enough that I took down the trees on my property on Old County Road. I spent $5,000 of my own money to take down the big trees because anybody coming out of Denaro looking towards the post office couldn't see. So I took them down myself, just to be a responsible neighbor. And now, even now, when you come out of Denaro Drive, you take a peek towards the post office, you dash to get into traffic like this because people are coming around those corners. This doesn't give it justice. That is a pretty wild corner going towards the post office, and there's no bargain going the other way as well. Just today, I was coming from Esme, and there's a poor guy on the corner where the stop signs are, and there's a guardrail in front of his house. I wish I had a nickel for every time that guardrail got replaced. But it's smashed now. And all you're doing is, once again, adding to the traffic, adding to the safety issues of the residents here. We already have inherited, there's about 70 homes. I kind of half-ass counted them. Don't write it that way. I counted them. There's about 70 homes on Old County from Farnham to that poor gentleman's property. We're going to inherit that same amount of houses soon, the development that's being made now. But that's not going to make any of this safety stuff better. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other members of the public?
Yes. I agree with all of my neighbors. I'm so glad we have such a great, dedicated community. Well, I'm here to confirm what John said. It is not a pre-existing condition. I've lived in that house, built it 28 years, never had a problem with water in my yard or in my basement, till they dug up the road, until the gentleman in back of me knocked down all the trees so he could put a play gym. If you're gonna knock down more trees, I really truly believe we're gonna get more water. And we've beat the water issue with a hammer already tonight, but I'm concerned on how they're gonna control the amount of water in our yards, in our basement, and we don't have sidewalks also. If we're going to build more houses, have more neighbors, we need sidewalks. The kids walk in the street to get to Old County Road School. You can't ride your bike, you can't push a baby carriage. So those are some of the other things we need to consider. So safety, yes. No more water. Let's fix the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that would like to be heard? With no one else responding, public comment closed at 7:08. Mr. Kane, would you like any final comments?
I'd like to make 3 comments. My client should not be precluded from developing the property because of existing drainage conditions. The uncontradicted professional testimony was he would make it worse, and maybe he'll make it better if DOT never gets around to fixing the cul-de-sac. Hopefully they do it before then. And even if they do it before then, he shouldn't be denied, okay, because of existing drainage problems. The king of the road is on Pro AM tomorrow, Peter Elvidi in the morning, right? It's election season, so maybe we can get DOT out here and to fix it. But if they don't, then there is an opportunity to actually improve it. The drainage from the roofs of these houses have to be handled the same way that Mr. Fag talked about in South County. They have to go into dry wells. Sometimes the devil you know is better than one that you don't. Someone's gonna buy this lot and do something with it. I could buy it, build a nice house up on that hill, clear 70% of it without having to deal with any of these things. So you have to look at things in perspectives. 3 houses on 6.5 acres in our medium zone. The story I had heard tonight is the story I've heard for time eternity since I've been handling things before the planning board, including when Denaro Drive went in. Nobody wanted it. Nobody ever wants anything near them for the most part. It's just a natural reaction, but it doesn't mean that you can preclude them from exercising their property rights. And you have peer review. We've agreed to that. And we've agreed to the reasonable conditions that you want to impose. So I think this meets the test for a 3-lot subdivision under your subdivision regulations, and I think it meets the zoning requirements. And when I would ask that you allow it to go forward, subject to it being fully engineered and peer reviewed by whoever you choose at the applicant's expense. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kane.
I have a question.
You got a question before?
Yeah, yes, and maybe in the plan, there's a comment from the planner that I noticed, and it mentions the applicant explored the repositioning of the houses and regarding of the lots provide more usable yard space, those houses. Did you know of that comment?
Yeah, and I believe we talked about that, maybe again at the site walk, we'd be happy to rotate those houses or regrade them as
That's not-
staff sees fit
that's
for
not an issue,
rear
you know,
yard.
like that.
No.
Okay.
Discussion?
I'd like-
Question or discussion, Catherine?
Both. I'd like to see a peer review done first before we make a decision. Is that possible?
Is there time constraint issues?
I had inquired with the peer review that we've used before, they can probably turn report around in 2 weeks. But Mr. Sally mentioned he was going to have some other data on the rest of the watershed on flow, so that may take some additional time. If they're going to give them additional data. It may not be ready for the next meeting, but we can extend, we can ask that to continue for you.
Does the applicant have an issue with that at all?
No, we'll agree to an extension, not a 2-year extension. 3 years? Yeah.
Can I just clarify something with the board? I just want to make sure that I'm understanding the difference between Mr. Casali's testimony about how there will be some type of review, for lack of a better word, about whether or not the water flow has not increased. Is that the same as the peer review, or is that a separate? Is that two separate?
Two separate issues. So the design plans by Mr. Casali will independently address and meet the requirements so that the water flow is not increased by all under the various different engineering principles. Separate and apart, there's going to be a peer review looked at by a separate entity to basically confirm or not confirm the engineering that Mr. Casali puts forward. That's my understanding. So you got a question, Mike? Go ahead.
Question for the engineer, the applicant. Joseph, if blasting is required on this lot, the depth that needs to be, the explosives need to be placed, are they of such a depth that would the results change the flow of subsurface drainage? Is that possible?
Yeah, it's possible. I think predominantly the problem we're having is overland flow is inundating a culvert, and it seems like there's people in the immediate area who have a high water table. And if you don't have French drains in your house, or if you have pumps in your house, that's why they're running. I think there's two independent things going on here. That basement is wet, it's in a high water table. If it's not protected, this isn't going to change that positive or negative.
Okay.
If it's overland flow,
It's predominantly overland flow that's the
and
problem.
when I say we're going to fix things, we're not going to be able to fix things 1,000 feet away at the post office. But with that house that's immediately in front of us, that we are around in its perimeter, we are going to intercept all that water before it goes overland, route it through the wetlands.
Mr. Casali, the
King of the Road
engineer,
was on today, by the way, so next Thursday.
what's that?
King of the Road was on today, so next Thursday, if we're making phone calls into PRO.
Thursdays.
The design of the system to create a net equal flow
Yeah.
or less, is that designed to, and you may have mentioned this last time, is it a 100-year storm?
It is, but it's all of them, so it just can't be a bathtub with one drain that does the 100-year
Right.
storm. It's got to be a bathtub with a multifaceted orifice that can do the 1, 2, 10, 25,
What is the
and
next
100.
level above realizing that standard of care is 100-year storm? What's the next one above?
So a 100-year storm is 8 inches in 24 hours not 8 inches over a period of time. Like the 500-year storm event would be, 12, 14 inches. So a 10-year storm is 5, 25 is about 6, 100 is catastrophic at 8. You would have the Esmond Dam break.
Do we know if
At
we've
100
had a
years.
100-year storm over the last 20 years?
March 2010 was probably the closest we came, and the epicenter was more at Burrillville than it was here. But yeah, if all of our flood maps, our federal flood maps have been redone because of that storm, and all of our design standards, we used to design to 7 inches, now we're up to 8.2. They've all been changed. So when NOAA changes the storms, we change all of that as well.
Yeah, Charlie, go ahead.
Just to change the subject a little bit, the trees that she suggested and the height that he suggested, is that possible?
Yeah, we'll have someone like Diane Soul submit to the town, a landscape architect, and we're not going to put little itty bitty trees. We want to put trees, and you can put them too large too, right? You need to have trees at a certain height.
The thing with the arborvitaes is the regular
be eaten.
arborvitae will be eaten. Only the green giants have that special taste that, the deer don't like.
Yeah. So that's why we'll have our consultant speak with the town and make sure we're in agreement with the trees that are going in. The goal is not to cut trees to then to have to replace them. We want to leave what's natural there already, as maximum extent practicable.
Okay. You got it.
So just for a record standpoint, I just want to list the contingencies that we talked about and either get your feedback on them, so they're all in one place for the minutes and things like that, just so because if this does get continued, so that we have it in one place to refer back to. Is that okay,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman? So we discussed the contingency of peer review. We discussed the contingency of the culvert being fixed, like approval for that culvert being fixed. We discussed the contingency of trees, the blasting survey, and then I don't know if, we didn't really go too into this, but this is something I wrote for myself. And I think, I don't know if we want to discuss this, was the grade approval, just to make sure the fire department, because their one single line was a little vague of 10% is the max period. So I just want to make sure that in ice and snow and things like that, that this 9.9 is sufficient. So just like maybe some type of approval from fire, which you get anyway at the end.
Yeah, we agree to all 5 of them, right? We need fire to pass. We're fine with all 5 of those stipulations.
Okay, so I just wanted to put those on the record in one place.
Charlie has another question.
I'm sorry, Joe. The resident had a suggestion about the culvert going over under the driveway. Do you have any problems with doing that?
Yeah, that'll absolutely be done. So there's open channel drainage that leads the stormwater into a series of culverts on that road. If we bifurcate that with a driveway, yes, we will absolutely put a culvert to keep all that moving.
All right, I'm just trying to
Yeah,
figure out
no problem.
what their problems are, see if we can solve them. Well, that's all. Thank you.
Mr. Kane, in terms of consenting to a continuance on behalf of the applicant, from our earlier conversations, I took it as there's no issue with that in.
Correct.
Yeah.
We could go to the next meeting, and if it's not in for the next meeting, I would assume we'd go one more to keep things on track.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I believe the next meeting would still fall within the 90-day time requirement, so if it can't be done by that date,
We would agree to a further continuance.
30 to 60 from there, so the November, December meeting, depending on where that.
That's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Next matter is Earl Grey Estates, T-Lots, ID 190.
Motion for continuance.
Oh, all right.
Motion for continuance, next meeting.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All not in favor? The ayes have it. I can't hear you. No, I'm trying to get this to move. Trying to keep it moving. And the public hearing, the public hearing is still open. Continue to the October 17th, 2024 meeting on, this is the notice they will not get it in writing. All right. New business, Earl Grey Estates, T-Lots, ID 19005. Request for an extension of the master plan approval, major land development project.
Good evening, members of the board. Mr. Chairman, my name is Andrew Blaze. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Smithfield Estates and Earl Grey Estates. Tonight, we're seeking a one-year extension to master plan approval. This would be the first not by right extension. Master plan approval was initially granted on September 24th, 2020. Two one-year extensions were granted by this board, and we're seeking an additional one. As background for this project, this is the T-Lots, the famous T-Lots. The proposed project would consist of 140 units. 26 of those units would be low to moderate income units, so that counts towards the LMI total for the town. It also would include a commercial building that would be, according to master plan approval, no larger than 34,800 square feet. So tonight, we're asking for that extension. That standard is for good cause, and I believe we can show that quite easily. My client, not I'm no engineer, have been working on this project diligently for quite some time. They've conducted a comprehensive survey, and as a result of that survey, in the new wetlands regulations, some minor changes have been needed to be made to the plan in order to comport with the new wetlands regulations. And so to do that, they've been working with the town planner. I believe they sent an initial set of plans for the town planner to review, and the town planner has returned them to my client, who's now reviewing those comments. My client wants to make sure that there's an opportunity to sit down with the town planner, get some feedback there, and find an avenue, a procedural mechanism to set up a time where the board can see and review those changes as well. What I would consider to be minor changes. And then there's another aspect. Over the past several months, the owners have been working with a potential buyer for the property, and during that time, there's more due diligence done, more work performed, and unfortunately, that potential buyer has stepped away. And obviously, during that time, this project was not, the plans here were not moved forward, but I believe that constitutes good cause to grant an additional extension. My client is here, and if you have any questions from me, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Charlie?
This is your third one you're asking for, correct?
That's right.
So that's 3 years we're talking.
That-
And how much further do you think that we're gonna be, coming back and saying, my dog got hit by a car, I can't do it?
Well,
Because your excuse about a buyer backing out really doesn't show a hardship to me, personally.
Well, I don't.
Hardship would be weather, a COVID.
Well,
What is the good, do you think that he has good, what's the good cause, 3 years financial?
So I think,
I personally, like I said, not the person, I know you represent something, but 3 years, and then you want to tell me it's just because you lost your buyer? How long do you want to hold on to this if somebody wants to buy it off you?
well,
It's like speculating,
Charlie,
buying stock.
I'm not going to speculate as to how long my client's going to do anything
not
at this
picking
time.
on
And
you. I'm just
I will say this, my client wants to build this project. This project has, it's a 140 unit project. This property, though, is something that is bigger, that can contain more lots, which would bring more residential aspects. So we want to focus on this project because we think it's a great project and we want to stay there. So at this time, I do think it would be a good idea, and there is good cause here, because when you have your extensions and you meet with a potential buyer and you spend months with them and they back out, you all of a sudden are looking at a situation where your original project, which you still like, you want to be able to build that, your mind frame change. That's a good cause. Not only to mention that there has been diligence on my client's part afterwards, and I even believe during that time in communication with the town planner, in expressing their plans and working with the town to get those plans, to at least be understood by the town, and to meet more stringent wetlands requirements that the state has imposed recently. So that would be my answer to your question.
Yeah, my concern too, the owner, where is the owner? I mean, can I ask him a question?
Andrew.
Sure.
Yeah, I am the president. I'm the president of the Andrew Parsons. I'm the.
Hang on.
Yes, I am the president of Earl Grey Estates, Smithfield Estates, and we acquired this property in a quite long litigation process, adverse possession process, which went to the Superior Court, and Judge Stern of the Superior Court finally awarded the clearance of all the lots, which were, how many, 900? Probably Mr. Phillips recalls how many lots. 800 lots, which are still lots of the property. The property is still divided into the 800 lots, and we own those lots. And we have been trying to, we were awarded a master plan approval back in 2020 for 140 lots, where we were intending to build duplex and triplex units. And we have been working on that project ever since. The changes in the wetlands regulations have required some, I wouldn't say significant, but certain modifications to those plans, because the setbacks have created some issues. But we've developed a plan, a modified plan, which would accommodate the same number of units, but laid out rather differently. And we would also, we actually surveyed the property for the first time, and the boundaries of the property have been modified. So we've now got a new plan that we will submit for I think it's called a modification, a modified approval for a similar number of units deployed in a slightly different pattern, and also now developed in a series of stages as opposed to one overall plan. So we have, I think, a 6-stage plan that we are going to work with Mr. Phillips and his team to bring before the planning board for further approval of a modified plan. So that's where we stand today. So we're asking for an extension so we can complete that modified plan. It was delayed by the fact that really over the transom, we had an offer, an attractive offer from a developer who had a different idea of how he wanted to develop the whole property, different to the one we had. That would have required a totally new master plan, not the modified version that we're looking for. So that was going on, and then after some months of discussion with him, I guess, decided that either his investment was too great or whatever reason, he decided to withdraw. So now we are back to going forward with, we hope, the modified version of the plan that we had with 140 units, which is considerably less than the potential of the area we have.
Well, I want to thank you for coming, because that means a lot to me, because I was, if you're going, it's nice to see the person.
But there were,
Thank you, Charlie.
yeah, well,
Thank you very much. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Thank you. Very nice of you to show up to ask for this.
there were two gentlemen here, I believe, who were at the original approval we got in 2020.
remember it, yeah.
You remember that? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Mike, what happens without an extension? What would the result be for them?
Yeah, the plan approval would cease to exist, it would be starting over.
Yeah.
But they're talking about changing anyhow.
Right, and that's why it got my attention was if the potential buyer had a totally different idea, that may not change that. It would have to almost start over again because of the major modification. So,
Well, can I clarify just two things? The potential buyer's plan is not the plan that we're going with, which I understand. I think the question as to just obviating the approval and starting over, that would not serve anyone in this position. And I would suggest, if the board is concerned about timing, Mr. Boyd's concerned about another year and another year, if the board is concerned as to granting a 1-year extension, a 6-month extension could serve your interest of keeping everything in line, in allowing us to, or my client to shore up the plans and get a plan together to get this back in front of the board for further review.
So do I understand you're modifying the request to 6 months,
If that's the board's pleasure, then, I don't think that would be something that would be negative here.
May I be heard? Ideally, how long an extension would you wish to have if you were setting the timeline?
If I was setting the time, it would be a year. But and that gives us a full period of time, the full extension time. That also prevents us from, were something to happen, having to come back. But I offer 6 months as an opportunity, as a way to address Mr. Boyd's concerns.
Catherine?
Yeah, I have a question for our solicitor and Mike Phillips. Question.
David?
Is it possible for us to define that if we were to give a 1-year extension, that it would never be extended again? It would be a final 1-year extension? Because this would be the third one. Can we do that? So it just doesn't drag on and on, like Charlie said?
You could put that limitation on it, except statutorily, the applicant has the right to present good cause as each period of time expires. So I would be reluctant to allow you to simply put that on there simply because they would have the right to say, we have a chance to show in terms of the 6 months or year, this board should have that right. At this point, the way the statute reads, it says at this point, vesting may be extended for a longer period, meaning longer than 2 years, plus 2 more 1-year periods. As the board sees fit, so it's a longer period, so 6 months could be a period, 1 month, 1 year could be a period. You have that as a board, it seems like you have some of that discretion, if they're going to just read 6 months for now. Seems reasonable.
We gotta open this up for public comment under the new rules, right? Okay, is that correct?
Yes. Could I just clarify that I have seen the revised plan, and I've had numerous conversations with the utilities and engineers over the years about them proceeding, looking at the sewer versus septic issue. So they are working on it. It's not been, totally silent. So that is true. And I did send back comments to them to the last way that they showed this board was concerned about merits of it, but the resident concerns here expressed, and I want to make sure that any revised plan reflect those. So we send it back to the
And what were the dates of those, that review and comments on this modified plan, Michael?
The modified plan was probably 2 months ago.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to open the matter for public comment. If anyone would like to make a comment, please come forward.
Swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Paul Thomas Sarabian, and I live at 164 Beacon Avenue in Warwick, Rhode Island. I am the owner of the abutting Peak property 0 Douglas Pike, which is the abutting property on the southeast corner of their 43 acres. Full disclosure, we do have an offer, my group, my construction company does have an offer in with Andrew's group for the purchase of the property. It's a bona fide offer. But I'm here today as I was not able to be here during planning, when we're going through the planning process, just to offer my concern. I am running a construction company, and putting 140 houses next to my construction operations, I don't want 140 phone calls after they go in complaining about what's been there for 50 years already. So I just wanted to lodge that complaint or document that complaint. And the other item I have is more like a request for Andrew. I know they have a main road coming in, and if I can get access, a secondary access off of that main road for my adjoining property, that would be helpful, I think, and prudent, given the configuration of the property and the lack of access and how closely to the light it's located. And those are my 2 comments.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to point out on the map where you are. That-
This is not, see, that's not, you see, yeah, but this is all, okay.
So if you go to the map, he's this section right here.
So, the issue is the issue today is whether we grant an extension, not necessarily.
I understand that.
Issues that you have raised, and I'm not quite sure, absent an agreement from the applicant, that we could make any condition given.
I'm not looking for that, I'm just wanting to get it on record, and I'm not opposed to the extension. I just wanted to get that on record. I wasn't able to be here during planning when I went through planning, and I apologize to the board for that. And that's all I have.
Angelica, were you going to say
I just
something?
wanted to clarify, you have an offer for this property right now pending, you said?
Yes.
Right, and it's for the same plan that's been proposed, or you're looking at changing it? It sounds like you don't want houses there, so I'm just trying to make sure.
No, that's not the case. It's not that I don't want houses, I just want an ample buffer.
Got it.
So we're in a commercial zone, we have a residential zone, and actually the residential commercial line got moved back to my property line. So, I mean, that's always going to exist,
but I just want to be sure that the ample buffer, you know, sound deadening, because I've been there for 50 years.
That's fine.
So I just want ample buffer. I'm not opposed to the homes.
Any other members of the public that would like to be heard? That being said, public comment closed at 7:41. Any discussion?
Yeah, I was going to say, the fact that they have been very active in attempting to get this done and not just for sale sign up and just waiting for something to happen. They've been talking to people, so in my opinion, I'm for granting that.
Any other comment? Do we have a motion?
Motion to grant the extension.
Do we have a second?
1 year, 1 year.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All not in favor? Okay, the ayes have it. Next matter.
Very much.
Austin Avenue, ID 2407 minor subdivision, pre-application concept review. Mr. Simonelli? If we can swear in Mr. Simonelli?
Frank Simonelli, 11 Cherry Blossom Lane, owner of Frank Simonelli Homes, Tempe, Appian Way, Smithfield. So I'm here to represent myself tonight. We don't have legal representation or an engineer here because we're at the conceptual process. I thought, Mike, you were going to give just kind of like a general overview of what we were trying to do, but if that's not the case, then I can go ahead.
Yeah, this is a pre-application concept review, and it basically involves subdivision of the subject lot, which already has one house on it, into three lots total, including the existing house lot. Access would be via Austin Avenue. It's proposed private roadway with a turnaround. The road would meet all town standards, minus the width of the road as proposed. There is an obvious pinch point in the entrance just off of Austin Ave, which is about 13 feet. Apparently, the fire department has reviewed it and has found it adequate. They brought their trucks in and out through there, so. That's all I would add on it. The properties are proposed to be served by septic, and you will have public water. There is soil testing that has been conducted, and it does appear that all the lots would have adequate soils to support OWTS. So. There would be just, waivers of the road. I don't believe there are any variances proposed at this point.
Any questions of the board? No? No? It's conceptual, yeah. Under our new rules, we need to open this matter for public comment. It's 7:46. If anyone for the public would like to be heard, please come forward. No one responding. Public comment is closed at 7:46. Any discussion? Do we have a motion? Oh, pre-application, that's true. Thank you.
No questions? Okay. All right. Thank you.
No murder porn.
For the record, I was first on the agenda last month, and I showed up at 7 instead of 6, so I apologize.
Next matter, the boardroom, 95 Douglas Pike, ID 2408, public hearing. Request for dimensional relief, including front, rear, and side yard setback, as well as setback distance from a residential zone. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Attorney John Shikachi for the applicant, DRG Realty LLC. To my left is Sam Hemingway. He's the engineer on the project. I'm not sure if he wants us to wait a moment, see if he can bring it up.
Sure.
There we go.
Any significant changes from when you were here last?
I don't believe so, right, Sam? I wasn't here last time, but I believe everything is the same location and, I take that back. Was there a modification to move it a little bit to the east?
Yeah, so we were here in July, I believe, for a pre-app to discuss, I think primarily the new rules and how to process this specific application. Okay.
I think we got to swear you in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so
I do.
And can you-
please state your name and spell your last name.
Yeah, my name is Sam Hemingway. I'm a project engineer with Garofalo and Associates, doing business out of Providence. It's Hemenway.
Thank you. In the question was, any significant changes from?
Yeah, I'm not sure the significance is the right word, but the building was shifted, so I think one of the comments of this board, initially, this project started out as being an addition off the back, with trying to salvage a number of elements that turned out to not be the most reasonable process forward. I think given that, I think mentioned to the board that there might be an opportunity to make some changes, and I think was well received. So we shifted the building 10 feet to the south, so away from the abutting property, which was the most significant concern. I gave a little bit more room, as was pointed out by, I forget which member, but one of the members. I gave a little bit more room adjacent to the building, but also for some snow storage and service areas that were lacking from the pre-application. So those are the changes that have been made. We're here. I don't want to speak.
Okay, feel free to continue.
Sure. Just to recap, I know you have your report. And first of all, I know that the land use expert has submitted a report to the board previously. He unfortunately threw his back out and couldn't be here this evening. He made a request, which is a little odd, but that if we wanted to speak to him, we can call him on the cell phone, but he's unfortunately stuck, I guess, on the floor recuperating. So we're here this evening under a unified application. It's our intent to demo the existing home, as Mr. Hemingway stated, move the structure approximately 11 feet to the east of its current location. Our proposal is to, if we're approved, build a cigar lounge, which is an allowed use under restaurant with entertainment under your ordinance with alcohol being served. We're seeking dimensional variances, also known as deviations, under case law precedent. Under your code, under section 3.9H, that if an individual takes a non-conforming structure and demos it, you're then subject to reconstructing it within the setbacks as currently exists. That's why we're here. We're seeking side relief, rear relief, and front yard relief, which we can detail in a few moments. At this time, I think maybe we'll bring Sam back and let him tell us his involvement with the project, how he engineered it, and how he dealt with the runoff, the water, the soils, potential road open permit, traffic circulations, et cetera. So Sam, why don't you just give us a brief recap of your involvement and how you designed everything, please?
Sure. So as was indicated, the existing property was operating as a commercial business. It has an existing driveway onto Douglas Avenue. The intent is to maintain that entrance and expand the parking slightly from the current, what was basically a residence. There are 17 parking spaces proposed, which wholly complies to the parking ordinances of the town. As was indicated, there are some dimensional setbacks that was primarily associated with keeping the building location in the same general location, which seems to function well with the surrounding road. We did soil investigations were done at the back of the property to ensure that it was suitable for the septic system. We have not gotten a septic permit for the design, primarily because it's directly dependent on the relief that needs to be granted by this board. So we do have approved test holes indicating that there's a suitable location, but because it's construction permit, we would propose to get that as the next stage and bring it forward to staff. Similarly, those test holes were used to design a drainage system which complies to state standards. Similarly, the test hole was utilized to design a drainage system that, in accordance with the state standards, ensuring no increase in runoff from the project. And then I think that was all. Lastly, I think it's worth noting we have submitted an application to the state for use of the existing, so technically use of the permit, although there is no physical alterations within the state highway. We have requested a determination from the state ensuring that filing of a permit would not be required based on the change of use. That is similarly pending, but we frankly don't anticipate, because there is no change and it's a highly functional driveway, any significant changes from that location, any significant issues from that process. As was indicated, since the last time we were here, we added a surface area and spread out the room a little bit to make it slightly more functional, but effectively it's very similar to the existing lot, with the building to one side, parking to the other, and landscape areas around the back. Hopefully that touched on everything. I'm obviously here for questions.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Catherine.
Question. Do you have a view of the surrounding roads where it goes off to Twin Rivers?
I think she's looking for a radius map of view.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's what I want to say.
And I guess we didn't really speak to that. The property is located at the southeast quadrant of
The property doesn't extend to the Twin River Road then?
Yeah.
No.
There's property in between our property line and Twin River.
All right.
Any other questions of the board members?
I might have missed, you might have said this already, but I might have missed it. Is that house, the footprint is staying, but that's it, correct?
Well, I can let Sam go over the details, but that was our original proposal.
Okay.
But now we decided to seek approval to demo it and then build a whole new building. I don't know if it's in the report if you want to see the physical
Okay,
look of the
that's
building.
what it
But
seemed like, but.
you rebuild it and move it to the right a little bit. But it might help a little bit because I don't know if it's on the screen, but I can show you the.
Yeah, I've seen that.
We do.
I was like, how is
So
that?
unfortunately, he's not here to testify to the standards, But once again, I make an offer of proof that all his findings be into the record. He did a very nice detailed analysis of it. And specifically, it's our position that the granting of the relief we need this evening will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance or the specific areas of the comp plan that deal with this area. Mr. Greco is available. He's the owner of the property. He's going to be involved with the business if you want to ask me specific questions. Thank you.
Sorry, did you have a question?
I'm sorry, one other thing. If this board does approve this, we'd ask that, if we could, that the further approvals it will be done administratively with staff.
I just have a comment, and so I just comment, the proposal to me is a lot better than what you wanted to do before. This looks like, a cash kind of thing. I like to see this town some revenue, instead of spending money all the time, so. It looks to me that the view is gonna be better. I really don't see any problems. This seems like a nice plan, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, is there any information about the existing residents right behind this property?
I could bring Mr. Greco up, but he's had conversations with them, and I believe he's won their support, but I'm more than happy to bring him up if you'd like to discuss that.
Sure.
Why don't you come up, Dominic? Why don't you state your name for the record, and then we can chat.
Raise your hand, please. You swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. Dominic Greco. Dominic Greco, Greco.
Your address, sir. Board members had a question about, effect to the neighbors, which is of course important. I believe you had some communications with them, and why don't you explain their feelings and what you offered them, et cetera?
So if you look at according to the plan, I offered a pretty well-defined buffer zone between my property and the residential piece that's right slightly behind me. I actually had a meeting with a neighbor, I believe one's here present. I had a meeting with them on site to go over the project, just so to make sure there was no concerns prior to this meeting. And I believe I addressed them all. Obviously, when you guys open it up to public comment, we'll see if there are any additional questions, but I believe I addressed all the questions or concerns with the neighbor that's directly behind my existing property.
It appears that their front door is basically facing this parking lot, correct?
Their front door is facing, yes,
Okay.
the parking lot. You actually can see the house in a little area behind that wall where the planting is. You can actually see right there is where the footprint of the resident is.
Right. I just had a comment that their front door is going to be facing this parking lot.
Yeah, so that's why I have a heavily, in the plan, there's a tree landscaping, and there'll be a heavily landscaped area. I mean, it is Douglas Pike, so you are abutting a commercial street. You're on Twin River Road. Across the street, there's DOT right now, and there's a lumber company. So I think as a neighbor to try to, if I was in that house, what would I want to see? Being a butter of a commercial zone, heavily landscaped. I offered to do fencing if they choose to, which we can put in there as as the neighbor wants to put a fence up. At the time, they didn't express they needed a fence. However, there was conversation about leaving the fence pole in place because there was a fence prior. The fence rotted and has been fallen down, so we removed that. But down the road, if the neighbor requests a fence, I have no problem putting a fence up.
Any other questions?
Yes. Could you go over the specifics of the dimensional relief you're looking for?
Sure. It's in the report, but I'm more than happy to specifically go over it. The side setback, we're proposing 16.7 feet from the property line to the east, where 40 is required, which would be seeking relief of 23.3 feet. As far as the rear setback, we're proposing a rear setback of 23, where 50 is required, which would leave us requesting 23.3 as well. The applicant also seeks dimensional relief from the minimum front yard setback, proposing a front yard setback of 23 from the front property line, where 60 is requested. That's from the zoning ordinance, Article 5.4, dimension regulations.
Charlie?
Oh, you can help me out, go ahead.
I believe there's also a standard for 100
100-foot residential buffer, which was requested relief as well.
To what, from 100 to what?
To the residential property.
But I think they want for the record, if you could double check it, if it's not in my testimony, what that number is, so we're specific. Am I right? That's what you're looking
Yeah.
for? Yeah.
It's supposed to be 100.
Oh, it's from the 23, so
Oh, okay.
the property is technically residentially zoned.
So I think
We're
I'm
asking for
thinking,
dimensional relief anyway for the side yard setback, but it is also a residential buffer, which is a good.
I think he wants to know the exact number of relief we're asking for, correct?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. So why don't you calculate that for us so we don't have any 76? Okay,
Thank you.
What was the front relief?
The front relief is also
23.
23.3, as per the report from the, we can double check it with Mike's calculations, but that's the report that came from the land use expert.
Mike had 23.
Same? Okay.
I just got one question.
Sure.
The restaurant and entertainment, what is the entertainment going to be? Just out of curiosity.
Oh.
Like, is it going to be?
I'm up until it's your vision, Dominic, but I believe it's just going to be light snacks, small food amount.
No entertainment. There's like bands and stuff like that. I think that just falls into
The way the license is?
the way the
It says
license
It says
is.
restaurant with entertainment.
I think that's just the way that the license falls in, which the license already has been approved. I came prior to this to get approval. I do have approval for my liquor license and for my business license prior to this project getting approved. I didn't really want to invest a lot into this project and not have the ability to have my liquor license and business license already approved. So town council already approved my liquor license and already approved the business license.
But
So technically, the house that's there now could be opened as a cigar bar and restaurant, light snack restaurant.
So
But
you're
just
not
so
gonna
it's,
have
just so
any-
it's clear, though, you're not planning on having
No,
bands.
no bands, no entertainment, no DJs,
Yeah,
none of that.
Because that, not the residents in the area.
Right, no, there's none of that.
All right, thank you.
No, good question.
Any other questions? With that being said, we'll open up.
Thank you.
The matter for public hearing at 8:03. If anyone would like to be heard, please come forward. With no one responding, we're going to close the public hearing at 8:03 as well. Any discussion?
I think they're taking a very unique property and building and improving that spot. So, in my opinion, I think it's you do have the variances they're looking for, which is, a fair amount. But considering the area, business, and the improvement I think is taking place, I think it's a positive.
Totally agree.
Any other comments?
Totally agree. I think it's going to do really well also with the casino nearby.
And it makes the area look better. It's not blending with what's going on in North Plaza versus what's going on in other restaurants.
Would you like to make the motion?
Yes. I make a motion for approval of the preliminary plan. Just on the recommendations, the board accept the memo from the planner. Submission supporting the documents and the record in the meeting. The board approved the requested zoning relief, which is from the side yard. They're looking for 16.7 feet when it's 40 required. From the leaf of the rear, they want 23 and 50s required. And then on the front, they're looking for 23 where 60s required. So recommendation for those to be approved. And the plan part of grant approval of the land development project as record evidence supports the conclusion that the applicant has provided the board with sufficient evidence that the applicant can adequately mitigate impacts, and further approval is based on the findings of fact. And we do have that the RI DOT physical alteration permit be submitted at final plan and final plan administrative, final approval administrative.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All not in favor? Okay, the ayes have it.
Thank you.
With, appears to conclude our
our business. Do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All not in favor? The ayes have it.